Welcome. Wow, what did you turn the volume up? I heard that was loud for me.
You went right up close.
Oh, please. Excuses. And that's not why Ask Brien has an E in it.
That starts with an E, though.
Excuses.
That starts with an E.
All right. Well, you're listening to the Ask Brien radio show, and some of you have never listened to it, so I have to go over this every week. If everyone would start listening to it in the entire world, I wouldn't even have to go over this explanation of Ask Brien. But since there's always new people coming in, we have to go over what the E's are. And first thing is the engineer that begins with an E needs to figure out how to deal with the microphone because it's coming in and out. Like, I don't know what's going on here. So, Mr. Engineer, yeah?
I would make sure that, make sure nothing's on top of it, probably.
And is anything on top of it? No.
Nope, there was.
Oh,
there
please.
was.
Excuses.
Yay.
E and E.
This is true.
So, for those of you who have not listened to Ask Brien, we are a radio show each week. We have a business person on the show each week, and we either like to teach a business lesson or go over some business background about a CEO or startup, how they made it to where they are today. And so this week is like no other week. And we want to also tell people why Ask Brien is spelled ASKBRIEN, because when I went to school, everybody's name was Brien with an A-N or B-R-Y-A-N, but nobody was spelled E-N. And by the way, you're listening to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. But there's something with the echo on the microphone.
I'll monitor. I'll
Since we're KHTS,
I'll be fixing it.
KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM, that wasn't the microphone. It was "and" by the engineer. So we all know where that came from. All right, so Mr. Engineer, forgetting about the E from engineer, forgetting about the E from excuses when you can't figure out the
That's
answer.
a new one, though.
No, you know what? This is a learning show, and we're trying to teach people things. And so, like, for instance, if you could figure out how to work the microphone, that would be a learning experience for you. That's also an E. So we've got experience, engineer, and excuses, and laughing.
That starts with an L. That starts with an L, sir. And
Well,
that starts with
we're in educational, so it's E laughing.
E laughing. Oh my goodness.
So please tell these people, because our guest is waiting, and he hasn't listened to the show before, and is like going, what's going on here? What's happening? I'm supposed to be on a radio show. I'm supposed to be talking about my company, and these guys are going over what excuses they have. So why do we have the E in Ask Brien?
Well, there's a number of words that have to
Give
do.
me an excellent answer.
I will give you an excellent answer. Well, there's a lot of E's that have to do with Ask Brien. It's kind of like a thematic thing we got going on for just kind of like what shows, like what the Ask Brien show is about. Yes, you took away the engineer, which, that's you can't run the show without the engineer. That would be me.
Although we do have AI, but go ahead.
That starts with an A and an I, not an E. Close.
Yes, but it's artificial intelligence.
Yes. But outside of that, we have excellence, which you kind of said when, let's make it excellent answers. Excellence, because we exude nothing but excellence here in the Ask Brien show.
Exude?
Exude.
Is that an E?
That's an E. Yeah, E-X-U-D-E.
Are you going to add that into it with a do?
Sure, but that's an A.
Go ahead.
The other ones we have also is empathy, as in you are not very empathetic with, with me in case of, when, with microphones.
I'm not empathetic. Did I say you're fat?
No. But why? Come on.
I'm trying to emphasize empathetic.
Another
E, empathize.
Yep.
And empathize.
He was not being empathetic. Other ones we also have here is excellence, experts, because we bring on experts onto the Ask Brien show, and everybody's an expert.
What is your expertise?
Engineering.
And what else?
Laughing.
E-laughing.
E-laughing. Pardon me. E-laughing.
Our new word of the day. We're like Sesame Street for businesses.
Call me Snuffle Up, I guess. Anyways, you'd be Oscar the Grouch. Oh man. Outside of that, we have experience. Did I say experience? No, I didn't. Experience, because everybody here is experienced in some form of.
Apparently not.
Apparently not for me. Yeah. Traci, help me. He's being really mean.
I just want to say that I want to be be Cookie Monster.
I love it.
Because I never met a cookie I didn't like.
Well, we should invite Elmo on the show then. That's an E.
Hey, that is an E. That's good. I love that.
Okay.
Anyway, the last ones are enthusiasm and I am excited for the greatest show on earth. No, we're not going to Ringling Brothers and Burley. But anyway, we are the greatest show on earth. We have our co-host Traci. Traci, you there?
I'm only answering to Cookie Monster today.
She goes by Cookie Monster.
Well, remember that this station is like no other station in the world. And we have our host, and we also have our guest today. And I don't want to mispronounce his name, so I'm going to go very slowly. Nishit, is that your name?
That's right.
Okay.
Right.
If I mispronounce it, please let me know. I'm not an expert, and I'm certainly not an engineer. So,
so going with the flow, it's a Nishit with the N.
Nishit with an N, okay. You know, if you took the N out, I don't want to say what that means. But
Uh-oh.
Anyway.
You don't want to split it, for sure.
Exactly, no.
Yes. There are FCC regulations around that if you change
Absolutely.
the
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Or even FDA.
Oh, he's very well, including with the government. Anyway, so you have this company, and the name is, what is the name of your company?
Jointechlabs.
And Jointechlabs, before you started working or creating that company, what were you doing prior to that?
So I have a background in medicine. I'm an MD.
Okay.
I was seeing patients.
Okay.
Yeah, patients suffering a lot. And that was one of the primary reasons for conceptualizing Jointechlabs and what we do. So what Jointechlabs is basically a regenerative medicine solutions company. So which means, we're trying to use the body's own natural resources and natural cells to eliminate pain and suffering. And I've seen a lot of those in my previous years before Jointech, and that was the primary reason between me and my partner to start the company.
So is this homeopathic or naturopathic, or is it actually specifically?
It's not. So
Okay.
it uses, your own body's stem cells. So it is a biological tissue, which is used for healing and regeneration. And what we have currently is an FDA-cleared device and technology that allows you to process those stem cells in the clinic and give it back to you for a variety of clinical indications. So it's not homeopathic in nature. It's definitely using your own natural cells of the body in the clinic to be used for a variety of clinical applications.
So it's one step below cloning.
Sorry?
Is it one step below cloning? I mean, using your own stem cells.
Yes, using your own stem cells, right? Absolutely.
So you were a doctor. You still are a doctor, and were you practicing in private practice? Were you working for a group?
I was at a university in an academic setting.
Okay, and so
then,
were you teaching?
Yeah, my interest was it was a combination of both. But my real interest lied in learning more about novel sources of stem cells. I used to work also in a lab in the clinic in the university, and that's how all this started. And there was a lot of interest back then in kind of exploring newer sources of stem cells. So what we started working on is a source which is abundant in everybody of us for the most part, which is your own fat, right? So we derive stem cells from your own fat in your own tummy.
Well,
I have a lot of stem cells.
I have plenty of stem cells. In fact, if anyone needs some more, I got some. It's a free offer. Anyway, so what were the challenges? So you started this company alone or with another person?
So my partner is Dr. Nathan Katz. He has a PhD in stem cell biology, so he's probably much more intelligent than me in the field. So we actually started this company in Chicago. It's still headquartered there, but of course we spread out after that. We met there, and he has a robust background in stem cell biology, and kind of gelled ideas on what we can do in the space. and that's how Jointechlabs was born. Seeing a common, kind of pain in regards to not being able to deliver natural therapies in the clinic was the pain point, right? You've seen a lot of synthetics and a lot of problems around, people using synthetic products. So that was the whole game on why we started Jointechlabs to deliver natural therapies in the clinic.
Well, so you're working for a university and you start this company. I mean, you know, uh, I imagine it takes a while to develop something before you can
Absolutely.
actually make funds out of it, right? So how did you work that part out? Did you had
Yeah.
savings and
So
stuff to use, or what?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we worked on our savings. It took about initial 3-4 years to get things going. I mean, we were sometimes working part time and kind of managing ends, but it was real commitment on both our sides to kind of get this through onward from the prototyping stage onto something very tangible that we can go meet the FDA with. And that took obviously 3-4 years at least. And from there on, we have this device now that's in the manufacturing phase, and we're already initiating sales here in the U.S. post FDA clearance. So hopefully, things are looking good from here on.
So explain a little bit about this product. You mentioned stem cells, but is it a machine that actually takes the stem cells from one person, puts them back into themselves after time, or how? Explain the way the
Yeah,
operational part.
absolutely. So everything is autologous, which means coming from your own body, right? So there is nothing that comes from another person as such. So what we do typically is that the patient would walk in, they would do a small mini liposuction procedure under. It's all under local anesthesia, right? In the clinic, right? So no operating or procedure room needed. They would take about anywhere between 60 to 120 ml of fat from your tummy using a small needle and a syringe. And then that would get processed right away within the next half an hour in the clinic with this device. And then the end product is ready to be injected back to wherever the pain point is, including, so, the areas of applications are, of course, a lot of joint problems, so, orthopedic conditions where people have, either osteoarthritis or, ligament tears or so on, as well as a lot of facial aesthetic applications where you're using, biologicals, which means tissue coming out from your own body rather than using a lot of synthetic materials like fillers and Botox and stuff.
And you're doing that at the same time. So in other words, they're still on the local. They're taking it out and then putting it back in, or is that done an hour or two later, or a couple days later?
Yeah, so the whole process takes about an hour. So as I said, once the patient walks in, it's about a 20-minute mini lipo procedure. They take a small amount of fat. It gets processed within the next half hour, and then the injection is right away. So there is no anesthesia needed for or a procedure room needed for the injection back. So all in all, it takes about an hour or 15 minutes, and the patient walks in and walks out.
And this is a unique product to yourself, or are there? Because I know it's FDA approved, but are there other companies with similar products out there?
Yeah, so there is the field has been evolving over the last decade for sure. I mean, there are not too many robust players in the field yet, but of course there is different kinds of biological products. So, some people do process some stem cells, or it's called PRP or platelet-rich plasma from the blood, and so on. So there is competition in the space with different biologics, right? So you're still using your own body's cells or tissues, but maybe not necessarily using fat as a source. You could be using blood as a source or something else as a source.
Now, so you are 100% FDA approved. How you said that process took a couple years, but so my understanding, and I have very little background in this area, is but you do have to go through 3 or 4 series of clinical trials where you're actually doing this on people, and then afterwards, if it's working or effective, after 3 or 4 clinical tests, that and the group expands, then at some point that it gets approved. Is that the way the process works, or you want to be more clear on that?
Yeah. So the way what you're describing is for drugs, basically, like in the sense you're doing a chemical for the market. The way it works with devices is a little bit different, where you have to prove a lot of course, it takes a lot of paperwork and data in regards to the safety of the device, the manufacturing capability, and how the device is built. And also a lot of clinical validations, as you rightly described. Like it's not, leaching product, it's safe to inject back and so on. But generally, it's a little bit less stringent pathway than a proper chemical-based drug pathway, which would be, a lot of phase trials and so on. So it's a little bit of a shorter pathway for medical devices.
And you mentioned that it works for pain, like the joints or whatever. What other parts of the body does it have you applied it for?
Yeah. So the right now the focus is on basically two broader areas. One is pain mitigation for orthopedic conditions as well as for wound healing, which means some chronic wounds like diabetic wounds and so on, where you can do local applications. So everything is locally based, right? So you're not injecting it IV or anything. You're doing it very localized, either in the joint or around the wounds. And then also, as I mentioned, for a lot of medical aesthetic and plastic surgery-related applications where they use fat as fillers instead of doing synthetic fillers. So you can use fat or stem cells as rejuvenation biological tissue instead of using synthetic fillers.
And how many locations can you get this in? Is it 1, 2, 10, 50? What?
You mean like physical locations, right?
Yes.
In the U.S. Yeah. So right now we are just still panning out the commercialization post FDA clearance. So right now we have about 10 different medical centers using this all across the country, right? From New England to the tri-state to California to some parts of Florida as well.
So one thing that I'm seeing here is an educational part you're going to have to do, right? It
Sure.
seems to me that there's probably a lot of people, myself included, that never heard of this, don't understand what it's all about. I mean, we've heard of stem cells, and so it seems to me there's going to be a lot of that educational part to get people up to speed to explain
Sure.
before they can actually go out and say, to create that demand. You can't just, it's not like, hey, I've got, an ulcer and, I'm advertising on TV. You gotta really educate people about what it is. That's what I see. Is that you
Absolutely.
agree? Yeah. And so what things are you doing educationally? We have about another 30 seconds before we're going to be taking a break. So if you can quickly go off if you have.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, our focus has not been so much on kind of customer level, like consumer level, education. It was more education for the doctors as well, right? Because even for them, the field is still new. So that's why we're doing a lot of webinars. We're kind of presenting at a lot of conferences, our data as well as a lot of different publications. Talking to these doctors, explaining how this works and why it is beneficial for their patient. So right now it's more so a B2B approach that we're taking. But of course, at the same time, we're kind of, in the process of building, a newer website for the end consumer, which is the patient. So, new landing pages explaining how this would benefit them instead of using synthetic products, like say for joint conditions, it could be that they're using steroid shots or doing some kind of a visco supplement, which means like a gel, which overall in the long term, including the steroid shots, kind of destroy the joint much further than what it is currently. So that's kind of part of the education process that we are undertaking.
All right, we're going to take a break. You're listening to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. We'll be right back.
Healthcare can be difficult if you're underinsured or have Medi-Cal. Samuel Dixon Family Health Center can help. Services are available on a sliding fee schedule. The mission of the Samuel Dixon Family Health Center is to give the Santa Clarita Valley access to affordable, quality primary care. There are 3 locations to serve you: Canyon Country, Newhall, and Valverde. Go to sdfhc.org for more information and to find the location most convenient for you. The Oasis treatment at the Ivy Day Spa begins with a gentle exfoliation, then rinsed away in warm showers. You're painted with a soothing aloe vera, shea butter, and coconut oil body mask. Then travel through the warm Hydro Cave chambers. The relaxation chamber completes your Oasis body moisturizing treatment with a pH balancing mist and a warm cup of tea. Feel refreshed, hydrated, and relaxed. Pamper yourself. The Ivy Day Spa, Town Center Drive. If you have a business problem, if someone doesn't honor their agreement and you need an aggressive attorney with over 27 years experience, the Law Office of Peter Bronstein has helped partners resolve disputes, franchisees resolve disputes, and other business owners who have a challenge. Let the Law Office of Peter Bronstein take your stress away. Visit lacorporateattorney.com. Don't wait too long and lose your rights. Solve your business challenge problem today. Visit lacorporateattorney.com.
Mark Schneider and daughter Kaylee for Pacific Air.
Okay, team. I called this meeting to look at new ways we can super serve our Pack Air customers. Matt, what do you got for us this week?
This month, we're educating our customers about the phase-out of R22, the Freon older AC systems run on. The cost of R22 is up over 500%, making repairs cost up to 5 times more. And when it runs out, homeowners with older AC systems will be in trouble. We believe a new AC system using modern EPA-approved products will cost less to run, less to maintain, and keep them cool and comfortable for years to come.
Great. I love the way we're always educating and improving our WOW service that we give our customers. Remember, team, here at Pacific Air, our goal is to always give service so good, they're going to say, okay, Kaylee.
For the guys in the orange truck, that's Pacific Air. When you want the best, call Pacific Air.
For questions about Freon changes and your AC system, contact us today at pacaire.com. PACAIRE.com. Remember, without the E, it's just air.
Hometown, your hometown station.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. You listen to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. I don't know what he's doing over here. He's got this little thing here. He's playing a little game. What are you doing over there?
My job.
What do you call those fingers?
Fingers?
Sticky fingers? What? Tracy, are you Tracy, are you there? I don't know.
Thank you.
I don't.
Yes, I'm
The
here.
engineer was doing something with the machine, and so it kind of made it look like it's really, really loud, and took a long, long time. You know, I just call you Tracy, but I mean, he's got some little thing there, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, for clarification, it didn't look like it was really, really loud. It was really, really loud. So just so we're, on the same page here. So yes, we are
tried my best.
back. We are excited.
We'll try to make it louder next time. And
oh no.
Yes, you have to. You have to keep on trying in life. If you don't try in life, you'll never ever succeed. Effort. And by the way, why don't we have effort as one of the E's?
I did say effort,
No, you
and
did
I
not.
said effort earlier in this segment. I know I did.
We'll check it on the podcast when we get back with
I
Tracy.
will. I literally
All right,
remember
yeah,
saying
yeah,
effort.
yeah. Better off stop talking now. Anyway, Tracy, you had a couple questions you wanted to ask Nishit, and I'm going to have a couple questions as well. Why don't you start? Because I had a couple questions first. You go, and then I'll ask some more when you're done.
That sounds great. So one of the things that I'd really love for you to share with our audience is the inspiration the inspiration behind launching this product itself. Like, what was that catalyst for you that saw the need in the marketplace, and then you decided to take that lead?
Absolutely. As we all know, nobody's getting younger, right? So the world population, 65 and above, is going to be about 1.5 billion in the next decade or so. We're increasing life expectancy, right? So I'm guessing 8 out of 10 are going to have some sort of degenerative problems. And what do you do today, right? Like, if you have some sort of a problem with aging, you either use drugs or some quick fixes, right? Like, you go out to the doctor, they give you a shot of, say, a steroid, and so on. So there's no real emphasis on building a natural defense system for the body. And, we've seen it all, we have all seen, probably our moms, dads, everybody's suffering from some sort of joint problems, some sort of ulcers that never heal, or even, side effects of using all these different synthetics, be it for the aesthetic work or for joint problems and so on. So that was really, hitting hard. And at that same time, we had this whole focus on stem cells being, huge natural healing potential. where, a small amount of your body tissue can give you millions and millions of your own stem cells for therapeutic use. So that was the real inspiration on how do we bring this to the clinic, right? Like, there was knowledge out there, a lot of scientific emphasis on how we can, kind of create those stem cells and give it back, but no real solutions how we bring it to the clinic. So that was when we kind of got together with Nathan and, kind of started working on a prototype for a device that could be worked in a clinic, which can deliver these, stem cells back to you in a very non-invasive way and in a very intuitive way, less time-consuming and, of course, affordable for the general public.
That's so amazing. And I'm assuming that you did a tremendous amount of research prior to making such a huge investment of resources and time. What were some of the things that you did to proof out your concept?
Absolutely. So we actually started with building laboratory protocols. We even didn't start with the device, right? But that was kind of an afterthought on how do we pan it out to every clinic. We started, of course, with a lot of R&D in regards to lab protocols on how we can effectively, isolate these cells and, what could be the best ratio and so on and so forth. So beyond that, then there was this thought on how can we pan it out, maybe a lab like this, probably, the bigger university systems might be able to afford, but not the local clinic, right? And that's the reason why it's not panning out as a standard of care, right, like as of now. So that was the whole purpose, and that's why when we started prototyping the device, it took about, a good 3-4 years to really, because we had to shrink kind of the whole lab process into this small device, which could be very portable and usable in the clinic, right? So it took about good 4 years to, build over, 4 to 5 different iterations and prototyping to come to a final product, right? And we are still in the phase where, sometimes we have to update certain things based on the feedback. So it's a continuum as such. But yeah, that was kind of the inspiration on why we thought this could be very useful to pan out regenerative medicine and use of natural cells in the clinic.
One of the things that we talk a lot about on our show is the relationships that are created as part of launching an endeavor, the magnitude of yours especially. And you mentioned earlier that you had a partner. Tell us a little bit about how the two of you came together to be partners, and tell us a little bit about how you separated your roles in terms of being partners, and maybe a tip for those out there who are thinking about bringing in a partner.
Absolutely. So, we were a part of a small biotech community in Chicago, and that's how we met. He had a strong interest in stem cells, being a PhD in the background, and, I had a strong interest in kind of the clinical applications of it. So we kind of gelled right away. We knew it was a common interest. And from there on, we decided to work on this and then eventually, form Jointechlabs to kind of build the products out of it. So that's how we met. And, it was a common interest that took us forward into building Jointechlabs. And of course, it was very clear right from the start, he has his huge focus and domain expertise in kind of a lot of the technical and scientific stuff related to stem cells. And I was more in the realm of, how do you create these clinical applications? How do you go through the regulatory path? And so it was a very clear divide right from the start. And we've kind of maintained it even now. So, he kind of takes care of a lot of the scientific technical stuff within the company, and I take care of a lot of, I've adopted to, kind of doing a lot of business operations for the company as well. But technically, I still deal with a lot of the clinical application part.
And how about investors? Have you brought in investors, or do you have plans to bring in investors?
Yeah, we did a good-sized seed round of $1.25 million so far over the last, 6-7 years to kind of build the company, build the prototype, go through the clearance, and develop a lot of, kind of the clinical programs that we have. We are, raising another round, and we're kind of halfway through it as well for kind of the actual sales and marketing aspect of putting the device across the U.S. So yes, we are raising right now, and yeah, I'd be happy to give you more information to your listeners.
Yeah, we always love to hear the journey around raising funds because it's such a mysterious and can have a lot of mystique around it, and sometimes can even feel like a shell game. So if you could offer any insights on your experience, that'd be great.
But hold on, as an attorney who's dealt with securities law, just be careful about what you say because it is on the radio and it is a public forum.
It's a what?
Thank you, counsel.
It's a public.
Thank you, counsel.
It is a public forum, and you have to be careful what you say. This is not a joke. You got to be careful what you say because it's not a solicitation for offer of funds. So, and you're not speaking to anyone or sophisticated investors or anyone. So you have to be careful.
Yeah, I understand. Right. Yeah, thank you for the heads up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we have been lucky to kind of get like-minded investors who understand the space. It's a long cycle, right? Like going through for a medtech biotech, it's a longer cycle than doing some apps on the phone. Definitely need much more patience in regards to going through a lot of regulatory hurdles and of course manufacturing and so on and so forth. So no, we've been lucky in that space, and I mean that's another thing I would kind of tell to your listeners, that do find investors who not just for the money but also some strategic inputs, right? Because that really helps when you have say like right now we're part of the Expert Dojo program, and they're really really helpful in regards to how you grow the company, how you establish marketing and sales and so on. So Brien has been really helpful along that. At times, you being a startup, you don't have all the, apparatus to kind of take on everything. You might have domain expertise in a few things that you need for the company, but you still need help or consultants to kind of help you through the other aspects. And that's where, if you have strategic investors, there's a lot of good introductions they can make. So that's really helpful as well.
I have a quick.
What were one of? Oh, you go. You
I just
go.
had a
You
quick
go.
question. I just had a question. So, have you ever had investors that say, "Hey, listen, I really like the product, but if it could do X or Y or Z, I definitely would be willing to invest." And has anyone ever said that to you? And if they did, and how would you respond to that? Would you change your product for the right investor?
So all the time there is always some, not negative, but like, critical feedback in regards to what you need more. So that's always a given. But then, from there on, you do build a relationship and, kind of explain what you think can happen with the company or what you think needs to happen to take us from point A to point B. And often they do understand. I've rarely come across anybody who has asked us to change the complete profile of the product or the company. They typically understand you have your sweat equity in this product. Only if they realize, and if you realize it's not a product to market fit, is when you really have to pivot completely onto a different side. But generally, it's more focused on building traction. Like if I see this, I would definitely like to keep the conversation going. And if you reach this point, I would definitely like to invest in you. So it's kind of that kind of a response typically.
Okay, go ahead, Trace.
See, now I lost my total train of thought, and I'm just kidding. So talking through the marketing aspect from B2B to B2C, and it sounded like too from your initial part of the conversation that you launched the business with a B2B focus and that you're bringing in a B2C focus. Is that to have brand awareness, like when you see commercials and things like that to ask your doctor about, or like can you help us with the marketing strategy around the focus pivot and then some of the marketing elements that you're putting into place to target each of those B2B and B2C categories?
Absolutely. I think, that's again a domain expertise that, was brought on by Expert Dojo. Like we were always kind of focused on the B2B approach because we thought it's a technical product. The doctors might just be the right audience for us. But again, it was a perspective brought on that it definitely helps when a consumer listens to something like this and asks the doctor about it on why can't I get this kind of a therapy and or a product to be used on me where I'm suffering in the joints or something else, right? So that was a focus that we kind of just initiating and just learning about it on how to approach a B2C market. And we haven't really developed any collateral or creatives around it yet, but we definitely, that will be the focus in this year to kind of develop this the creatives around a B2C approach as well. So, but generally, otherwise for the B2B, of course, with COVID, things were different. Everything was kind of online based, but right now, things are opening up. So we're starting off with the trade shows, conferences, of course, a lot of branding around the product, offline brochures, digital presence as well, and creating these automated sales funnels and so on. So that's kind of been the general approach.
And what about accessibility? Is the product, so if you were to do a campaign around consumer awareness and the consumer latched onto that and then want to ask their primary care physician about it, is it accessible worldwide? Is it, is there an accessibility challenge? How does that work?
Yeah, there is some, not challenge, I would say. It's some sort of awareness that we have to definitely generate in regards to the consumer on why it would be beneficial for them, because, there is a market enough for all the synthetics, obviously with, a lot of funding goes into all these bigger pharmas that, create awareness around their products. So there is an awareness component that needs to be in place before it can really pan out worldwide. And doctors, and consumers start asking their doctors they do have a general sense, but there is no real awareness as of on a global scale yet.
Are you going?
And what is your bit? Oh, yeah. I was going to say you go, Peter.
So internationally, are you taking any steps internationally? Because usually the market is so big in the U.S. and you still have to get over so many hurdles here in the U.S. Are you exploring any international things now, or is that like way down the?
Yeah, no, we are actually exploring the international market. We have already kind of the paperwork in place for getting approved in EU, which would take about probably 12 months from now. And also a few other countries, so we're kind of, working on the regulatory side to get this device approved in ex-US as well. But you're right, we have to kind of be, very, very conscious in the effort, because marketing and sales is a ball game in itself. So, we're kind of keeping it limited to the US right now, but also, having interest in the global market, because definitely there is a huge market outside US as well. So first steps is to get regulatory approvals there, and then kind of think about the marketing plan there. But definitely right now the idea is to pan it out across US first.
And how long do you think it'll be before you'll actually have the product at a facility where somebody can go in and get it?
So as I said, we already have, we have typically right now we're working through distributors of medical devices. So they have a good size account, right? So typically that's how we're working. We haven't really initiated any direct approaches to doctors yet, apart from, of course, the key opinion leaders that we work with in the field. But generally, we're kind of working with distributors who have their own accounts. So definitely in these states that I mentioned, we already have, active doctors using the product. So we can definitely, if there is interest, we can kind of direct the patients there.
Well, thank you very much. We're going to be right back. We're taking a commercial break. KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM.
When you look at your child, you see so much. A creative spirit that surprises you every day. A little leader growing to discover who they are, what they love, and how they can make the world better. At SCVI, we see those same amazing things. Our tuition-free TK through 12 charter school provides boundless opportunities to think critically and imagine freely, with a learning program customized just for your child. Today, that means empowering your child to bring strengths and passions to the distance learning environment. Our approach keeps your child and family in step while online, inspiring your learner to keep growing without missing a beat. At SCVI, your child will find even more ways to grow with projects and activities in STEAM, robotics, theater, music, and sports. With the only international baccalaureate program in Santa Clarita, SCVI produces graduates who excel at top universities and in life. For enrollment information or to learn more about our distance learning program, visit ileadsantaclarita.org. iLead Schools. Free to think, inspired to lead.
Finding the right lawyer can be a challenge, but in Santa Clarita, there's no need to search when there's Hacker Law Group, Santa Clarita's premier litigation firm. Jeffrey Hacker has represented celebrities, financial institutions, accident victims, real estate developers, realtors, contractors, businesses, nonprofit organizations, and other individuals and companies with their legal challenges. Mr. Hacker is one of Santa Clarita's leaders, consistently listed as one of our most influential. When everything is on the line and you need legal counseling, visit hackerlawgroup.com.
If you have a business problem, if someone doesn't honor their agreement and you need an aggressive attorney with over 27 years experience, the Law Office of Peter Bronstein has helped partners resolve disputes, franchisees resolve disputes, and other business owners who have a challenge. Let the Law Office of Peter Bronstein take your stress away. Visit lacorporateattorney.com. Don't wait too long and lose your rights. Solve your business challenge problem today. Visit lacorporateattorney.com.
Thinking of buying a house and want a really low interest rate? Owning has a special for home purchases, where Owning pays all your closing costs, and the rate in APR is an unheard of 1.875% for a 15-year fixed mortgage with 20% down. This is the craziest low rate for a mortgage with no closing costs that Owning has ever done. 1.875% rate in APR. Heck, we're almost paying you to live in a new house. Call 833-2-OWNING or go to owning.com to see if you qualify for this crazy low 1.875% rate. That's a fixed rate loan at 1.875% with no closing costs. Call 833-2-OWNING now because 1.875 could go away at any time.
NMLS 2611, licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Subject to credit approval. Offer assumes the use of lender's choice escrow and title services. Call 833-858-80066 for terms and conditions.
That's 833-2-OWNING or owning.com. 833-2-OWNING or owning.com.
No words can describe the power of belonging to a group of close friends or being part of a family. Insight Treatment Center was founded more than 20 years ago to give teenagers a community of friends and family as they overcome issues like depression, anxiety, and trauma. The new Santa Clarita location is a COVID-secure environment where distance and good airflow are a priority. As a leader in providing intensive outpatient treatment to teenagers, Insight Treatment Center in Santa Clarita is here to help. Call 888-295-9995 or go online to insighttreatment.com.
It's like no other station I've ever listened to. It's great.
Your hometown station.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. You got to switch the end button. It's kind of too long.
That one sounded like it was like tailing off at the end.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Me neither.
Do we talk about micromanagement on this leadership entrepreneur podcast radio?
Is that what you're trying to do? Because you're not being very successful. Anyway, so you were going to ask him some questions, our guest Nishit. So go ahead, Trace.
Yes. So we were talking on the break about the where you see the company going and what are your growth areas, like what's next for your company?
Absolutely. So, yeah, definitely we want to become an ecosystem of regulated, regenerative medicine devices and therapies, of course, at the point of care. Establishing a standard of care, right? That's the whole point, right? Like it could well be very as ubiquitous as having a blood pressure done at a local clinic. So that's the vision, right? Probably 2, 3, 4 years from now, it should be a global ecosystem where this should be a given, right? Like you can go demand with a doctor to get your own tissues and cells for any kind of therapies that you want. So instead of, problems with either using synthetics or because of aging, because of our devices, doctors will be able to offer these non-surgical kind of regenerative medicine therapies at the local clinic to mitigate pain and suffering. That's the goal.
What's going to stop competition?
Yeah, great question.
What's going to stop
Uh,
competition?
Yeah, it's we have a leader advantage as of now, because of the kind of products, which are platform kind of products. So not just these devices, we are kind of developing therapies around it as part of our clinical programs, which I didn't even kind of get into for this call. But we have some sort of an emerging leader advantage, and there's not really too many big pharma or medtech yet in this space, and it's still evolving. So definitely, if we do things right, of course, there will be competition, and probably there is already competition, but we do have a leader advantage, being a better product, in regards to pricing as well. We are very competitive, so I believe we can definitely take it from there.
Exit strategy.
As I said, most of the big pharma medtech are yet on the sidelines. They're still looking for the next emerging unicorn in the space. So if we do things right, we already have the device cleared in the U.S. If we get a few countries ex-U.S. and also kind of developed on the clinical programs that we have, I think we'll be very, very good candidate for a merger acquisition by one of those, either the Medtronics or Strykers or even some in maybe the J&J kind of companies.
Do you want me to go, Trace, or you got one?
Well, we were just going to say, so what if someone wanted to get in touch with you, wanted to learn more about the product, what is the best way for them to find out more about the company and about the product itself?
Absolutely. So, yeah, our website is pretty good. They have, most of the information for doctors, as well as we have a separate section on for the consumers to really understand, what this device can or technology can do for you. So, www.jointechlabs.com, jointechlabs.com is the perfect place to go. We have our email listed there. We have a phone number that you can call or just have a form filled out for us to reach you back. So those are all the ways you can kind of ask your questions, and we'll be happy to answer them.
And if you were going to provide one, just like a lesson that you've learned throughout your journey of launching this business, what is the one piece of advice that you would give?
Besides Ask Brien, go ahead.
Of course, yeah, I should have started there, right? Ask Brien. But no, definitely. But definitely, in this space, especially the whole medtech, biotech field, one suggestion or one advice is to have patience. Just don't get frustrated. There will be a lot of ups and downs in the business as you go along all these different, R&D, manufacturing, regulatory, IP, all the different kind of stuff. And now eventually, once you have the clearances, the sales, right?
I didn't mean to interrupt, but the show is over and out.
Okay.
KHTS 1220 98.1 FM. Thanks.